Julia. Nabi.
Michael.
Sheila.
Gus.
John.
Kristen.
Dean.
Dimitri. And Bob.
Someone at the door. Right. Non-duality. That's what they call it. Advaita in a lot of our teachings. Non-duality meaning one without a second, not two. Only that. And they mean exactly that. That is all there is. So if that is all there is, you, I, and everything else must be that. Non-dual, one intelligence entity, one life, one being. And on investigation, it's recognised as such. Recognised. The Buddha calls it a cognising emptiness. And he tells you that emptiness is form. And the form can be nothing other than the emptiness. So talking about all this manifestation, you, including you, me and everything else, are just pattern shapes and forms appearing in emptiness. What is the emptiness? The basic space of phenomena, what they call the basic space. The base of all phenomena is emptiness. Well, look at space. Isn't it the very first thing you see, but do we notice it? We don't. We notice something in space. Not the very thing closest to your eyeballs of space. And this room is full of space. But we focus on the things that appear in the space, instead of realising that is a space like awareness, as they call it. Talking about non-duality, Advaita, one without a second, is existence, consciousness, bliss, name and form. Anyone who is not existing right now, you realise, no, I'm existing. Anyone who's not conscious, everybody knows they're conscious. You're not unaware if you're conscious. And happy to be. You're all happy to be. None of us want to be dead right now. So that's what we miss. We miss the space, and we miss the fact of your own being, that you are already that. That is all there is. Only that. That's the great mantra, I am that. And don't we already know it, because that's the chair you're sitting in, that's the room, that's the carpet, that's the tree, that's the flower. Everything we got names, put names on, it's all that as we discriminate with the word. And the word's not the thing. Take the word water, try and drink the word. Take the word fire, try and cook with it. So what's this word, I or me? Realise that I or me is just a concept or a word we've learnt. Now, how many words were you born with? You realise you weren't born with any words at all. You didn't learn words till you were a year or two old, when the parents fussing around you, to speaking, and the capacity of reasoning developed in you, and that little baby, you learnt to reason. And you took the word to be real. So when they tell you, they gave you the name, I am Bill or I am Jane, or whatever you're made to be, Somebody asks you who you are now, you'll say, I am so-and-so, whatever your name was. Not realising that's just a label, that's not what you are. You are that life essence. You are that one intelligence energy, that one being. And being is not becoming or not knowing. It's pure being. You call yourself a human being. Believe in God, you'll call God the Supreme Being. Take away the word human, take away the word supreme, try and separate your beingness without the word. And you realise that as you're sitting here right now, you are just being. Not being this, that and the other, unless you take up a concept or a word and go into the word, into the thinking process. And Shakespeare tells us that there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And we've got this habit of thinking, trying to work things out in the mind. We call it mind, body, mind, person. Are you the body? Are you the mind? Well, when you investigate, because this is the main thing they do, these things need to be investigated, looked into, and seen for yourself. Nobody can do it for you. I don't think you're going to get it from somebody, because if it's one essence, there is nothing other than that innate expression that's expressing as you. And everything else from that point of view is an expression or a pattern, shape and form. And all these pattern, shapes and forms are not the reality. Just vibrations, movements of energy. Are you the body? Are you the mind? And innately when you look into that you see it's not so, because you say my body, my mind. Who is the me or the my that's saying my body? And the mind, which you think called mind, is there such a thing as mind? See, the body is nothing but a vibration of energy made up of elements, air, earth, fire, water, space. That's what the body's made up of. And you call it my body. Just say my house, my car. You know you're not the house, car or the coat. So maybe you're not the body either. And when you look into it, you might realise and see it's so. You are not the body. All those elements can be broken down into subatomic particles. And those subatomic particles can be broken down to pure energy. So all this body is a vibrating pattern of energy. All the manifestation in this body are vibrating patterns of energy. All adornments on space. Because there's nothing you can think of that could be outside of space. What would it be in? It'd have to be in something. So the only thing it can be in is space. But space is no thing. It doesn't have a beginning, doesn't have an ending, doesn't have any boundaries, any patterns, shapes and forms, any division in it whatsoever. It's just as it is. A cognising emptiness, an emptiness that has that capacity of cognising or knowing or intelligence energy, whatever label you like to put on it. And that all vibrates through it and becomes the body, the tree, the flower, everything, and the mind, and all things, everything is the content of space, because there's nothing you can postulate outside of space. So it's that space-like awareness, which they tell you, they use that term, space-like awareness, awareness like space, and come to realise that. That's what needs to happen. Realise that you are already that, always have been, and always will be. When we learn the words, we've taken the belief that we are these words, these concepts, these ideas, purely and simply because we never question it. When your parents tell you little Johnny, or whatever your name might be, you say, I am little Johnny. And if somebody asks you who you are, you'll say, I am little Johnny. And you go on believing that and looking into it, but you get into a lot of strife because of that. Because it's only me who can be unhappy. It's only me that can be sad, depressed, guilty, jealous, envy. Me is the cause of all the psychological suffering. And when the effects are the jealousy, the envy, the fear, the anger, but when you look into the me, who or what is me? Who am I? Am I this body? Am I this mind? You realise I is just a thought. And the thought is a vibration. And that's all the mind is, a vibration. Vibrates into words, sounds and images. And there's no such thing as mind. But the words or labels we put into it, the vibration. Vibration is sound, movement, a vibrating pattern of energy that appears solid and substantial, the shapes and forms it vibrates in. And time, space are no thing. Time's a mental concept also. If you ask yourself, is there a past if I don't think about it? And try and live in the past. You can't go back and live in the moment ago. You can't live in the past. You can only recall what we think is the past. And if you're not recalling it, it's not there. And the future, can you anticipate, or you do anticipate, imagine the future, but you can't live in the future because that's all it is, anticipation and imagination. So it's all this vibrating present moment. And this present moment is spontaneous. It's got no duration, and that's all that time is duration. It has a beginning and end. But the spontaneous now moment, can you say it's beginning? Or can you say it's ending? Try and grasp now. I've got it right now, but it's already gone. And there's another now. So when you see it's all time, space, all apparent. And this argument tells you, you're dreaming a dream you call the world. Stop looking for ways out. The dream is not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. Love all of it or none of it. And this is the wonderful thing about it. The rest will be done for you. And that's the fact. It all happens by itself. What have you done of coming into existence, being born? What have you done about growing yourself? As Christ tells you in the Sermon on the Mount, take no thought for your life. What you shall eat, what you shall drink, what you shall wear. Look at the birds in the field. He says, they don't gather into barns, sow crops, or do anything. And the lilies in the field, even Solomon in all his glory is not arrayed like one of these. But you see, all these things are taking place, and through the believed in thought we think we are doing, but they're all taking place by themselves. Look out there in nature right now. The Earth's rolling around the sun. What's doing that? Is there some God up there that's rolling it around? Or is it happening naturally and effortlessly? The sun's radiating and throwing out a heat which lights up this side of the Earth which is facing it. And the other side is in darkness. The Earth doesn't know anything about daylight or dark, neither does the sun. We've put on the concepts of daylight and dark. Not really. And then we put on the concepts of thinking. And as Shakespeare tells you, there's nothing either good or bad but thinking, they can say. And look at the way we think. Thoughts come up, just the same as the sun rolls around the Earth. We grab them. This is a good thought, this is a bad thought. It's a pleasant thought, a painful thought. And we divide the thoughts, thinking in there too. But it's only the one essence vibrating in the opposites. As Shakespeare told you, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And good and bad are two aspects of the one vibrating thought process. Just like past, present, future and all the rest of it. All concepts, all mental concepts or images, all applying to that one, what I call, for want of a better term, I don't use the term God, because you can get confused with that term. With all the different traditions that are around, got different ideas and different concepts of what is God, what God is. It tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, the Word was God. That's all that God is, a word. A label we put on this idea that's functioning, that's manifesting. All things were made by Him, by the Word, and that's so. All these things, the words you picked up and put labels on. And there was nothing made that was made without the Word. And we've learnt words and taken belief in the Word, not realising that you are the life. As the Christ tells you, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one can come to the Father excepting through I am. And the Father's not Big Daddy up in the sky. It's that life or Father essence, if you like to call it that. The Supreme Being. And the so-called human being. And I was pointing out before, the human being, take away that word human and take away the word supreme, you're just left with the word being. Can anyone negate your being? You can't. Nobody can say I am not. So you are that pure being. And being is knowing. And being is loving to be. And that's Satchitananda, another term. Being, knowing and loving to be. So you are that already. And that's what we need to recognise and say is know the truth, as they say, and the truth will set you free. What are you free from? You're free from the belief that you are this separate entity, this individual. Now have a look at that word belief. Your dictionary definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. So when you put your beliefs to that test, they'll fall apart. And where does that leave you when it falls apart? Do you disappear? Is it the end of you? Or are you still that presence awareness? That being, knowing that you are. That's expressed through the word, the thought, I am. But I am is not it. And people tell you to stay with the I amness. That I am is the sense of presence. Translates into the thought I am. Stay with the sense of presence, not with the word. Because, as Moses on the mountain told you, believe it or not, looking after the Jewish people, he made up the tablets. And those tablets were a way of working at things in a more easy manner, followed them out. But he said, I've got to tell the people this. What are they going to say? They want to know who sent you. They're believing it's some other power sent you. And they'll say, who sent you? And it came to him there and then. Tell them, I am sent you. And that's when he realised the word, I am that I am already. That is what I am. That thought, I am. And then they tell you that in the scripture. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. And Isaiah, it says, be still and know that I am is that godliness, if you like to put that term on it. All I am. That I am is just a thought. And you are not a thought. Thought is happening upon you. You are prior to the thought, because you had realised that when you were born, and for the first 2 years of your life, you were living in an existence, but you had no words. It's the only way you can pointing out without the word. And the word comes along, it can help to a certain extent, but it causes a lot of trouble when we put these labels on the words. It's only me to be unhappy. It's only this me or I can be depressed or jealous or envy, fearful. Me is the cause of all the psychological suffering, and the effects are the jealousy, the envy, the fear, the depression, the anxiety, the stress. They're all the effects of the cause me. Cause and effect, what's that? They call that karma. But what if you realise the cause me is a fiction? Just a thought up word, a word we've learned. And ask yourself the simple question, can there be an effect if it's not related to the cause? Or can there? If you're not relating to a cause, how can there be any effect? And if the cause is me and you see me is not what you actually are, how are you going to relate it? So from that point of view, the separation ceases. And what are you left with? You're left with the absolute, or the great perfection, as they call it in Buddhism. The great perfection. Give it in one sentence there. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. It's that awareness which is within every one of you right now, without any concepts or words. And the absolute, they tell you that in the Hindu scriptures too, absolute. Can you add anything onto absolute? If you could add anything onto it, it wouldn't be absolute. If you can take anything away from it, it wouldn't be absolute. So if you realise absolute is all there is and only that, you must be that, then who can be superior to you if it's all absolute? Who can be inferior to you? And what would you want from anybody else? So that I am that then takes on a different meaning, a different understanding. Not that I am this body or I am this person. I am that life itself. I am the truth. I am the way. I amness, the sense of presence. That's all it is. A sense of being presence which translates into the thought. I am. So that's what we point to. And I ask you to look at that and see for yourself. Because I can't teach you anything. I can't tell you anything. And when you realise that you are absolute, there is no one who can teach you anything and no one that can tell you anything, because all those others appear in that life essence that's expressing as you. That life essence, if you're not there, what world is there? There is no world for you if you are not there. Now, when you are in the world as we are now, it's only what's around you that we see and take to be real. There's lots of other parts of this world, of the cosmos, we don't know, see or know anything about it. We can imagine and anticipate a lot, but each and every one of us is doing the seeing of itself, and only one of its range of seeing and knowing. And I say, without that, the world for you disappears and you disappear with it. And that goes for any other so-called believed in person. Can't be there isolated on your own. You're only an appearance and only a pattern, shape and form that's in it. And the world plays along in and around that, in all its diversity and all its variety. So in the recognising that, you are free of the belief of being a separate entity, an individual. And you don't have to suffer as we do. And Nisargadatta tells you that nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. And when you investigate that, know it's true. Because all we're doing, we are imaging this, that, the other, imagining. It's all conceptual images for each and every one of us. We have these conceptual images. And that's imagination we believe to be real. There's no difference from when you go to sleep at night and you dream. In that dream you create a world and everything in it all appears in the dream. And you can be doing all sorts of activity in that dream, be in all sorts of places, anywhere. What happens when you wake up? It all disappears. And all the things that you dreamed, the places you're in, they all disappear with it. Which is what you don't realise. That your body, when you look into it, then you realise your body hadn't moved off the bed when you were dreaming. No words had come out of your mouth. It was all taking place in the imagination. And what we don't realise, when you wake up to this dream, and this is the waking dream. Because this dream continues every night from where it left off the day before, the night before. And so it's seemingly real. You can see the things the next day. They're seemingly there, solid and real. But it's the waking dream, and the Sayadaw tells you, when you realise you're dreaming a dream you call the world. Just realise that, recognise it, and stop looking for ways out. Instead of trying to get out of the dream, don't look for ways out. The dream is not your concern. We're making a concern by trying to find ways out and thinking about it. It's not your concern. Your concern is you love one part of the dream and not the other. And isn't that so? We want the good stuff, we don't want the bad stuff. We're dividing it up and splitting it up and wanting the good, not the bad. He said, love all of it or none of it. And he said, don't take a stand on either end. If you're either loving it all or none of it, the rest will be done for you. And it happens. It all falls into place. We look back at that and realise it brought you into existence. From the sperm and the ovum, two microscopic particles. And your father and your mother, by the food and things like that, brought them into existence too. And when those two came together and mingled, it formed the little embryo, the little fetus, which is what you are today. What were you doing about it then? You weren't doing anything about it, but it was happening. Why do you keep trying to do something about it now? We all get caught up in that. Not until it's recognised and seen for what it is, that the settling into it and leaving it happen comes about. And in that coming about, it works itself out. But the old habit patterns that we form constantly believing in this me take a while to settle down. And so it continues on for a while. But eventually, in the recognition, you leave everything as it is, unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected, just as it is in itself. No preferences, no partiality, no comparison. And realise it's free to change, just like it does in nature. Day, night, silence, sound, movement, stillness, incoming tide, outgoing tide. Planets forming, exploding and imploding. The whole function. These patterns, these human patterns, breathing in and out. It all happens naturally and effortlessly by itself. And so, allow it to be. As I say, I can't tell you anything, and I can't teach you anything. And I'm not speaking to anybody. I'm not speaking to any mind. I'm not speaking to that body-mind that's sitting there. I'm speaking to that I am, to that sense of presence, that knowing that you are, just to this and nothing else. And if you listen with this as this and see for yourself and let it dawn on you, you'll know what I'm talking about. And there are people in here who have done that and know what we're talking about. And when we take it on now, everybody's asked to have their say. If you want to, tell us how you see it. If you don't see it and you've got any questions, ask the questions. Because it's only by your own investigation that you can come to it. So away you go. You awake there, Kat?
She's got
I said, one cat at a time.
Yeah, I'll just click the hearing aid. Yeah, the cats, they own the place. We are just the servants. And she's living a dream. So living in that state of, that natural state, she's living a dream. She doesn't have any sense of low confidence. Oh, I'm not worthy enough to actually jump on someone's lap and find myself comfortable. The natural state in which the only difference, oh well, there's more differences, but the basic difference between the animals and humans is that default mode network which narrates everything that happens in a symbolic language. She doesn't have that narrative self. So she's just moving, responding to the environment in a natural way. And so do we. But we have the narrative, we have the voice of a commentary on top of it, which tells us that, oh, I shouldn't have done it, or I shouldn't have thought it. But you haven't done a thing, and you haven't thought a thought. They just arise. Actions arise just like in the cat. Cat doesn't translate, oh, I will jump, because they don't conceive of I. They don't imagine that there is a tiny little kitten there inside the body that is doing the decisions, that is deciding to jump or choosing to get on my lap. No. So they free. They one with life. They respond to life. They interact with life. When it's cold, they shake the fur a little bit, or when it's raining, they find the shelter. When they're hungry, they eat. And it is always environmentally triggered. They one with environment. We have the idea that, oh, that is me, and God in the Bible told me to label the animals and change the environment to my liking. Whether he did or he didn't, that's the nature of every living creature, to find comfort, to find safety. So no action is actually my action. It's only the narrative that takes credit for the action and says, oh, there is an I, and I decided to do that or the other. But when you look and try to find that I, there isn't one. So we are already in the natural state. If we just disregard the narrative, which always speaks with the sense of importance and urgency, if we just disregard that, or we just notice that very narrative as another object in consciousness, that's the natural state. And it happens spontaneously throughout the day when other senses are engaged. Like Bob says, sitting with 5 senses wide open and unfixated awareness, of sitting with one sense totally occupied, like eating chocolate. There may be no narrative at that point. And that's the natural state. And the narrative is natural in a way as well. It's just considering it the truth, considering water, the word water to be a water and trying to drink it, or considering the idea that I'm not good enough to be the truth and trying to attend to it is suffering. Word is not the real. The commentary is just blah blah. It has nothing to do with reality. Oh, she gave me a break. Good. You want a pillow? Take her. So anyone would like to, I love the way Bob says, tell us, how does it sit with you? How are you seeing it? What are you seeing out of it? What's obvious? What's clear in that whole really, really basic introduction? Because this is really super, super simple and basic. Everyone's already certain 100% that they exist. And that's it. That certainty, that acknowledgement of that incredible radiance of existence, of consciousness, of being here. That's it. It's just that other things seems to stand in the way and obscure it because they seem important. Oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not healthy enough, I don't have respect, or I don't have partner, or whatever it is. That thought that stands in the way and argues with life and says that life should be different than it is. That's when given importance, when given credibility, that causes suffering and seeming separation from that flow of life, which you can never be separate anyway. It's just the illusion, just the dreaming the dream. So anyone would like to start and say how you sitting with that, how you going, how, yeah? Wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, words, hey? I heard the melody to Like a Bridge Over Troubled Water, and I don't know, it brought a tear to my eye, and so thank you, Bob, and thank you, Kat. That message, the message is like a bridge over the troubled water of the identification of a me, and it's just listening to the message time and time and time again, and old habits have died, and the reality and the truth is just there in such a soft and, I don't know, humble way. And while I was listening to the message today, I recognised that things just fall into place, and I heard Bob really say that later on, that really everything just falls into place and seen in its own time and way. So, yeah, thanks.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And they really do.
Just
Can you
might not
see?
be the
Yeah.
place
go.
that the mind would dictate, but that's the problem, is the thinking, the believing the mind's stories.
Yeah, yeah.
That's when we get really upset, is when we've bought into a story. It's all a story, really. I'm a story.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this story. It's still a story. I think what occurred to me is just a conversation I'd had with my son once about, he seems to think that because we have this intellect, it makes us superior. Most people, I think, have that belief.
Yeah.
That, well, humans are special, like, we're superior because of this thinking capacity. But it's such a I think they haven't quite understood. I would have to Google whether or not animals have depression in the wild. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that I know that I've had children, and I've never seen toddlers with depression, little babies. They
How
don't.
many of them have you seen?
I've only had mine too, but I did talk to psychologists when they were little, wanting to maybe make sure they're happy growing up, and and the psychologist that I talked to trying to get one for my kids, they don't even see children. They won't even, there's nothing to, no, they don't even consider that they might have issues. So I don't know, I'd have to look into that. But I guess what I'm trying to get is, and I do think that it's because of our believing in our thinking, it's that there's a me, that's all of our problems are coming about because of that story that's believed in. I don't know if I'm babbling or making any sense now, but that's just been my experience, is whenever I'm holding on to an upset for longer than a toddler would, that's what I can't help but notice is going on, is a thought that not this. Should be something else. When I see the bullshit of that, or that's a dream anyway, well, then in my experience, it's kind of like waking up from a nightmare. Oh, thank God that's not real. And it's sad in a way, though, because so many folks don't. I mean, it's sad. That's a narrative. I get that. But so many people don't. They don't see this. That's why I sing a lot about it. Just poor strangers, unsuspecting, because it was such a unique way of looking at things that when you see that it's just a story. Babbling again.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments from our online community. So Jane says, thank you so much, Bob. Perfect pointers straight from the heart. Thank you, Kat, for putting it all together, and love to all. And Ariel says, it's interesting how the narrative can become so loud and so dominant, and the momentum seems to make it stronger, and how coming back to the pure love in Bob's presence is such an amazing reminder. Beautifully said. Thank you. And Tibor says, thanks, Tas. Sometimes old habits die hard, but they die now. Yeah, that was beautiful. I also loved what you said, how humbling it is to just sit in front of that message and just come back to that, I don't know. The truth is, this is all mystery. It's not like, one size fits all solution. It's really, even, the question of animals having or not having depression, it's a question of language. Again, how you stick the label, how you define it, doesn't really matter. It's coming back to that humbling realization that it really is a mystery. I don't know. If I think I know something, who's
We
there to
don't.
know it? Yeah,
No.
So if I have a certainty that this is like this, that every piece of depression comes from this or that, or that kind of feels a little bit on the arrogant spectrum.
No,
that
it's a
there's
little
something I
rigid to
know.
say I know, isn't it? It is a bit arrogant.
Yeah, because we don't really.
Yeah, but in
It's,
this and people want to know though.
yeah.
They really do. They think that's the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Is being able to say it's because of this. That's
Mhm.
why they go to the religions, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're thinking that knowing that they're going to know something, and then they study the texts, and the religion will have the answer. My religion.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is really just leaving the message is more of a state of open curiosity and just saying, how is this body going to respond? Or how is that other body going to respond? What is the next thought going to be? What's the next feeling going to be? What's the, just kind of holding space for that space to unfold its content without any prerequisites, without any expectations, just being a space for that content to arise. And yeah, as you say, there's nothing wrong with appreciation for the content, even if the content is a story. The story can be absolutely beautiful. There is a way life expresses itself through the story, as the story. It expresses itself and it has a glimpse of itself. It knows itself. It experiences itself. And again, this is a little bit of anthropomorphizing because, life doesn't really do, nothing has ever happened. But I love the way Bob sometimes, puts it in one liner, one essence. Experiencing and expressing, appearing and experiencing and expressing as everything. It almost kind of suggests that this is why the whole Maya came into existence, so that intelligence can experience and express itself. But the why question is a question begging for the story. But it's a really, really good metaphor that puts the mind at rest. And now, being in that state, you actually just let that life express whatever way it expresses. And you just be the space for it to express. And if there is people who didn't see through it, appearing in that field of life,
That's part of the expression too.
yeah, it is from life's perspective. There is nothing wrong.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I'm coming here, and I'm very much looking forward to that moment of clear seeing, which I haven't seen it yet.
How do you know? How do you know you haven't seen it? Because if you had seen it, then you would know what it is. But if you haven't seen it, how do you even know that you haven't seen it?
Say that again. Say that again, please.
Yeah, you say the clear seeing, you're looking forward to a clear seeing in the future because you can't experience it, you haven't seen it clearly yet. So I say, how do you know? Maybe you are seeing clearly all the time, but you have an assumption that you're not because you have a subtle expectation that clear seeing looks differently than what you're seeing now. Do you think the cat sees clearly or not?
I agree with you. So, because I actually saw that, I can see that there is this effortless awareness,
Yeah.
that right now, for example, says, I can feel my legs and, it's just spontaneous and just operating.
Yeah.
That is me, right? That's what I am. That open, spontaneous awareness that knows all these sensations right now. This is it, right? That's what you're saying, right?
Well, not really.
No, so
but-
that's why I say I haven't.
But it doesn't matter what I'm saying. It is your direct experience of existence. Can you deny your existence? Can you
No.
try and not exist for a moment? Can you try and not be conscious just for a moment?
No, I can't.
No. So that existence is a base of all experiencing. That existence is undeniable. Now, whether you're tasting a sweetness or you're tasting bitterness or you feel the pain in your leg or the headache or whatever, that's the changing content. That's
Right.
just a passing phenomena. But the base, the undeniable fact of existence, which for the mind is just nothing, but
Okay.
for the heart is a radiance, miraculous radiance of aliveness that is absolutely beautiful and unpenetrable and unobjectifiable. You can't objectify it. I know what I am this. No, you're the one who says, you're the one who sees. So you can't really know what you are. But that you are, you can't not know. You can't not know it. You know it already. You're seeing clearly, you're experiencing the existence, you're certain of it. But you have a concept that no, this is not it. There is something else.
Well, when I say, is it, so okay. So when I say right now, I am, there's a knowing of how, about the senses, 5 senses, there's a knowing about that.
Yeah.
And there is definitely the existence. I know it, that I exist.
Mm-hmm.
So what I am is that knowing,
Yeah, that
that
knowing.
knowing,
Yeah, the
right?
knowing.
Knowing, loving to be.
Yeah, that's what they say in the scriptures. Yeah,
Yes.
Satchitananda, being, knowing, loving to be, and that's already a fact. And then they say nama, rupa, or name and form. The form that you give yourself and name that you give yourself, the concept that you give yourself. That's Maya. That's illusion. That's not true. The reality is that you existing. You are aware of your own existence, and you wouldn't die. You have preference to exist. So that's the reality. That existence is the reality, and you can't deny it.
So when I tune into that knowing, or I don't know how to describe it, knowing which is kind of effortless.
Yeah, you don't even have to tune to it. It's for granted.
Yeah, it's for granted.
Yeah.
So because I'm always caught up here, you know, like
Yeah.
energetically even, I just, there's a pool. Yeah, almost. You
The-
know, there
the
are gaps,
attention.
but, you know, there are gaps. But 99% I'm up here. The attention goes like energetically even to thinking. I can feel the energy in my head even. But when I'm in my body, there is a gap of this momentum,
Yeah.
I am in that kind of effortless feeling of the senses.
But when the attention is caught in the thinking, analyzing, labeling, taking credit, and all that mechanical narrative function, you're still aware that the attention is trapped in that mechanical narrative function, aren't you? When you are daydreaming,
Yes.
you are still aware that you are
That's
daydreaming.
right. So that is also included.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything's included.
I get that.
Yeah.
So what I mean is, because the momentum of this is much more than the momentum of those gaps that I'm in my senses, in that knowing, in that open sky kind of space,
Yeah.
that everything is taking place. I can see even thoughts, emotions, everything is in that space.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, which I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's that aliveness, whatever it is, in that presence. So everything is happening in that one space. So the momentum of that is a lot less than the momentum of this.
Yeah, you can see how you are actually analyzing and comparing You know, if there is life that experiences and expresses itself through engaging part of the attention in the narrative, and there is another piece of mind that is analyzing and comparing it with some sort of an ideal, you know, I want to be in that state when I'm aware of the senses and there are no thoughts, because I prefer that state over the state when the attention is engaged in the narrative. That subtly reinforces the I. The clear seeing is that the mechanical function of the narrative is the same as mechanical function of stomach digesting, or the skin sweating, or the lips salivating, or the seeing. Don't worry about it. Don't believe that that mechanical narration talking about I should, I shouldn't, I didn't see it yet, I. That is part of the play. There is no I there. If you see that any thought spoken in the narrative is completely like a pre-recorded old record, like automatic subtitles on the YouTube. You switch them on and they, you know, the algorithm is listening to the sound and they put subtitles. Or you talk to your virtual assistant somewhere or the other. It's completely mechanical. That's not you speaking.
Yeah.
It's not you being caught in narrative.
Yes.
You, who you truly are, is never caught in anything. It's just the attention. Some of the attention travels to the narrative. And it creates the I in the narrative, and that narrative and that I is assumed to be real. Look at the reality of the I, and the narration won't be a problem.
So I can see that narrative is coming out of total darkness, like there is, you know, before the thought comes, it's darkness, and then thoughts come in, which I can see I didn't generate it, it just came out. But the problem with that is I can't, it's just so many and it's so quickly that gap is so little that I can't break the momentum and I can't relax.
No, because there is no I to do that. Even if you see
there is
1,000
no I,
thoughts
but
per
the moment,
minute, racing one on top of the other like crazy, ADHD, crazy manic thoughts racing. But there is awareness of that mind functioning.
yes,
So leave it alone. Leave the mind alone. Let it race. Who cares? Let it do whatever it does. You know, sometimes you need to run and the body is racing. The blood pressure is coming up. So if the mind is racing, let it race. But you are the space of awareness in which the mind races. Can you see that? That when you are engaged in daydreaming or you engage in producing dark scenarios, that's an automatic function that just happens. And there is awareness of that function. You don't have to be curious of the content of the mind, but be curious of the fact that the mind is engaged right now.
Yes, but okay, when I am in the thought game realm, I'm not even being, I'm so gone by it, I'm so tranced by it, in a trance by it, that I can't feel that I'm that awareness. It's only after the thought that I remember.
There you got it. There
you
you
know,
go.
that I just realize that I've been even thinking.
So the problem is only in the mind, analyzing afterwards. In the moment, there's absolutely no problem. Just like the cat running on the tree behind the bird is completely engaged in the action, it has absolutely no problem. So you are completely engaged in the action, whatever it is, dreaming about Copacabana Beach, whatever.
Right.
And there is no problem. But then the mind steps in and look back, creates that past, and creates the narrative. Oh, I shouldn't have done it. Oh, there was no gap. Oh, I'm not getting it. This was a darkness. I was in a darkness. There was no I in that dreaming about the Copacabana.
So you
The
saying
I came later.
So you say actually you saying that I keep daydreaming? Is
I
that
don't
what you-
know. This is what you said. That you are 99%.
Because if I don't pay attention, I just keep daydreaming, or I keep stuck in my identification
Do you
with
think you
whatever
have control
emotion.
over it? You think you are the doer who have control over how the brain is functioning? You have that illusion of control that this is up to you, whether the dreaming will happen or not?
No, but I have this also strong heart desire to get out of it.
Yeah? And you think you have control over that?
No.
No. Okay, so wonderful. You established that you have no control over the dreaming and you have no control over the heart desire.
No.
Now,
Yes, I know.
Do you have control over anything?
Nothing.
Nothing. There you go. As a space.
There is one thing, though, I realized. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. But it seems that there is a moment of choice, though. To go with the narrative or not to go. To stay.
Yeah, of course. The same
There is
choices
a
are
moment
there all
of
the time.
choice. There is a
All the
moment
time.
of
But
choice.
is there anyone that will make that choice? Or is it life just following the flow of itself? Is there anyone who can make that choice? Because in the narrative, you can say you have a choice every moment, every second, every decision, everything is a choice. You could conceive of the possibilities and options. You could even experience the possibilities and options. But is there anyone to make that choice? Or is it that certain choice is more kind of emotionally charged and the other one is less emotionally charged? So the energy will just gravitate towards the one that is charged rather than the other.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. There's no one to make the choice. No choice maker.
So if the choice is even presenting itself to me,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps I have to push myself a little bit to do.
There is no one there to be pushed, and there is no one there to do the pushing. See, this is really this is really very, very simple and really very, very uncompromising. There isn't anyone there to do anything at all.
So what is that
Once you
then?
really completely give up on any attempt to control, because you really fully embrace the fact that there is no freaking thing you can do about it, that comes with natural relaxation and natural surrender. Oh shit, right. Oh goodness, he really means it. Yes, he does, 100%. There really is no one to do anything. So you may just quit trying.
Hang on a second. So that moment of choice that comes up, to go with the narrative or not.
Don't
Which
believe
is-
that you have choice.
Choices are made, but there's no choice maker.
Yeah.
Choice is
Are made.
a made.
Choices are made.
Oh, right. There
Like
is
food is digested, but is there anyone who digests it? The heartbeats are made, but is there anyone who does it?
I don't get this. Like choice are made. So why they appear like that then?
Yeah, yeah.
They appear like I can actually choose between the two.
That's the grand illusion. That's
So
the
that's the
point.
thing. Like Bob, about smoking, you said don't pick the first one.
Yeah, and throw away the butt.
But this is a choice, right? Or not?
See, that is the grand illusion. It gives you the illusion that there is a little me, there is a little Mitra inside somewhere who can decide to take a next cigarette or to take a next drink or whatever. That's how it feels. You know, when you watch a good show in the cinema, it also feels when someone is running, it feels in the stomach. It feels like, you know, it feels the good show, the good theater, or you go to a good,
Yeah.
opera show and you cry because the drama just really pulls you in. That's what a good grand illusion is. And this, we are talking about, we could call it God. This is the best spectacle ever made. This is the only game in the town. And it's so convincing that you really live your life believing that you are this individual, this person who has the control and who makes decisions and who takes choices. That is how convincing it is. But it's nevertheless a grand illusion. You'll always feel that you are here and not there. And the cat also feels this way. You can see, judging the behavior, that cat knows where to go. It doesn't hit the wall. It doesn't conceive of separation, but it experiences on the bodily level. It doesn't feel it is the door or the chair or the wall, but it doesn't conceive of being separate. It doesn't have the idea that I am a cat. And you have the idea I am a human and I'm in charge and I have control and I can make choices. This is a wrong idea.
I'm so sorry I'm taking so long, but this is
Don't worry.
like
Sorry.
so this is you say so I like Bob, you said don't pick the first one. So but that is a choice. Who is-
Do you want to stop smoking?
Yes.
Well, why would you pick one up? Would you make a choice to pick one up?
Well, the choice, the natural movement of life is towards the cigarette.
No. See, this is, again, you actually just need a basic, simple translation. Everything is life. There isn't that life wants the cigarette and I want to quit. See, you're creating duality again. It is only one life expressing itself as the addiction pattern, and the same life as the desire to break the addiction pattern is the same life now. Whichever one gets charged emotionally, that one will be followed. Those who have very, very strongly charged addiction pattern and the desire for quit, for stopping, didn't show up for them, they will continue. Now, the desire for stopping may awaken while listening to Bob. It may be, awakened. It may inspire something while listening to Bob. He may literally, or anyone, you may go to AA meeting, or you may go to whatever, support group, one or the other, or you may even listen to the radio, listen to the bird, and suddenly the desire to break a pattern may awaken. But this is not you having that desire versus life having no desire. It is all one life. There's no one else. The life wants to quit, and the life wants to continue, and the life plays the same game. Every actor in the scene. There's no one else.
So I shouldn't really beat myself up over.
Absolutely, you get it. Yes.
I shouldn't beat myself up over smoking.
Over anything. But if beating up happens, it is also life acting out on the pattern of beating yourself up.
I've been telling you that for weeks.
Yeah.
My God, I was beating myself up over it.
Yeah, because you thought that it will make a difference. This behavior pattern of punishing is also a way life reconditions itself. You do it with animals as well, although it's very ineffective to punish the cat or dog rather than reward it for the good behavior. Super ineffective. You punish the dog and it will never come back to you.
You know, but what you said about the beating up is also life.
It is.
It's very confusing.
Just take that one thing. There's nothing else. There's only one. Just one life. How confusing is that? There's nothing simpler than one. Everything is life. Hitler is life. Mother Teresa is life. Suicidal ideation is life. Elated ideation is life. It's just one. Non-duality. Very, very simple. How confusing can that be?
Because I don't know if I should really stop now or not.
You think you have a choice. Again, you think you have a choice.
What is the I that needs to know? If you don't mind my asking.
That I see that doesn't exist. But there is...
But
answer the question. What is the I that... Take a look. Can you find it? What
No, I can't find it. I look for it 100 times. But the tendencies are confusing.
The tendencies, yes, the tendencies. How about the tendency to, eat chocolate, or the tendency to speak to strangers or to not speak to strangers, or the tendency to hold the mug in particular way, or to keep your hand on your hip this way. Those are all tendencies. What's wrong with them?
And who's confused?
And who is confused? confusion is happening. I can see that. I can't say who is confused.
Yeah, the wave of confusion going through the field. Like the wave of sadness, the wave of beauty, or the wave of appreciation. No one there.
You
Where's the
can't.
confusion? Sorry, Bob.
But
If you say who is confused, well, can you find anyone who is confused? Who is confused?
no one.
So it's just the idea of confusion happening.
The idea of confusion happening. So the heart knows what needs to be done in every moment.
Yeah.
How do I access it though?
There's no you to access it.
You are accessing it.
Going out of the circle.
You
Yeah.
have the awareness. You just said you are aware of the confusion. Identify with the awareness, not the confusion.
Yeah.
You
Right.
are the awareness. You are not the confusion.
Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Are you unaware right now?
No.
Well, there you are. You're not unaware, so you must be aware. And you are aware of confusion. You're aware of fear. You're aware of everything. Everything is objective. If you're aware of something, it's not you.
I got a couple of good answers here from our online community. Maybe there will be something that speaks to you. Just open up for the resonance, because the clarity is common gold. Hey you says, I know is the nod of ignorance. That was that was probably relevant to the previous one. And Bill says, thank you Bob and Kat for your love for the clarity and expressing the simplicity of the conscious being we are. Beautiful. And Ariel says, let the momentum take over, it won't last. Nothing lasts, yes. And Taz says, Mitra, and he translates me, tra, and blows you a kiss. Beautiful. And Tibor says, stop pulling on loose threads if you don't want to unravel more. And Ariel, Mitra is such a valuable and beautiful discussion. This is such a valuable and beautiful discussion. Thank you so much. And there is much love and appreciation here for Kat and Bob too. And Dito, Ariel, thank you. And Ram says, instead of directing the attention towards the thought stream, recognize what is seeing those thoughts. Right now, all the attention is on the fictitious seer and the fictitious seen, both of which are the sum total of this thought stream. What is real is the seeing. Stay with the seeing. Beautiful. Yeah, and that's what Shah was also saying, just where is your heart? Stay with the aware-ing, the knowing, not the content. And Vivek says, trying to understand realization is mind. Anita says hi too.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it really, if you really completely accept that one thing, the mind can never grasp it, never, and quit trying to grasp it. And then just remember, non-duality means not two. Not two. There isn't me and life, me and realization. No, it's all one. It's just one essence, one life. That one life, you get out of the way and let it see. Now the life is looking, not Mitra is looking. Oh yeah, but I'm not seeing clearly. Well, forget about it. That's just a narrative. Let it see, let it hear, let the life, the one essence, see, hear, taste, touch, smell, experience. And let it think whatever it wants. And let it raise the thoughts, whatever. Like let life be life, let life ink. See ink, like Ram was saying. Just, don't assume that you are separate from life. Because you're not. You couldn't find anyone separate. So just, if you can hear that one thing, look for the evidence that you are not separate from life. Rather than, yes, but, no, this doesn't. Look for evidence that you are not. Can you separate yourself from the process of seeing, hearing, from the
No.
process of being? You can't.
Yes,
So
I
there is no
agree.
separation.
I have done that.
Yeah.
That's what I have done that. But as I said, it's the momentum that take me so much into the content.
So who is that me that is taken?
Yeah, I'm just using language, but I
know.
can see that there is no one
There
there.
is no one who is taken. It's just the same way, you know, the thinking happens in the same way as the blood flow happens. It is one of the functions of that machinery. Leave it alone. Don't bother with it. The habit of prioritizing thinking and treating them seriously as if the thought is something important is just a habit of the machinery. If you see how it happens, how it comes into existence, that seeing is clear seeing.
Right. It's just out of nowhere.
Yeah. You see how the heartbeat happens, right? You can
Yeah.
put your hand, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see it clearly that you're not doing it.
Yeah.
That's clear seeing. You can see clearly that you don't know your next thought. So you're not
Yes.
thinking. Even if the thought is yes, but, blah, blah, you don't know which one it will, you know. So it's not you doing it, it comes up. Like the heartbeat, same thinking, same salivating, same seeing. So you can just completely rest your case, you know, there's nothing you can do. Just be the space that you are and leave everything alone. And now, if the resonation is to stay with the awareness rather than follow its content, yeah, that's where life is taking you. If there is no resonation and you would rather go shopping, well, that's also where life takes you. And it's no good or bad in it. It's not that you are superior for staying with the awareness and inferior for going for a smoke. No.
Especially shopping.
It's just let life, let go and let life. They say they have this slogan, let go and let God. But yeah, just get yourself out of the way and just be curious about what's the next move. Where is the attention going to flow next? Oh. What's the thought is going to engage with next? And you don't know. You are that field of not knowing. And life will amaze you then.
Right. Not thinking ahead what I should do.
Not
But-
controlling anything.
Yeah, like just seeing what happens, what comes up for set next.
Yes, and you will see that in that flow of being one with life, when the control is required, it will happen, but there won't be any controller of it. Like, you know, Bob is still capable of cooking. He doesn't, you know, but there is no narrative, oh, I have to control how long I'm going to cook this or what else am I going to add. No, it is spontaneous action with no imagined idea of me doing anything. Activities happens. If you see how the narrative is constructed and taking credit for it, that's another piece of a good entertainment. You see how the urge comes up to have a cup of tea, and the body follows the urge, and the mind quickly follows up, oh, I want a cup of tea. And now it goes with the assumption, oh, this was my idea. I thought that thought, and now the body has to obey me. There's no one there. It's just a narrative, it's a function. Like you have, Julia has, I think I have it in my phone too, something that you mark the text and it will read it for you. So the narrative function reads the chemical information that the body has. You know, if the cortisol flew to the legs for the body to get up, the narrative reads it and narrates it out loud. Twisting it a little bit for the convenience of the communication, adding that I. And that I that is constantly changing. You know, when you're going for the cup of tea, the I is the body. But when you fantasizing about the Copacabana beach, I is not the body anymore. Now I is the mind. Or when you are pissed off, the I is the very strong sensation, is the feeling. So what is that I? It's nothing, it's just a word. It's nothing there. It's only for the sake of communication.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your diligence.
As you were talking, I was thinking about the ideas of confusing or confusion. Well, that's what's happening when we're confused, is we're trying to figure it out, aren't we? We're trying to know. You know, isn't that what's happening? I want to know. And then we were talking earlier, you know, about knowing. What an arrogance there is to that. You know what I mean? I know. Now I know. That's what it is. And there's a rigidity. It's like a solid, it's this. But then maybe somewhere, somehow, there's just whatever showing up, and there's not a need to know or not know, or, you know what I mean? Figure it out. And I don't know if it's not knowing. It's a way knowing. There's something knowing. It's just being. It's being. Isn't that what's here now? The being, which is also translated as I am, isn't it? And if you're just staying in that sense of being prior to those words, I am, aren't you back to what you never left?
And there is a classic one-liner, Ram brings a reminder of Bob's classic Bob's pointer. How many thoughts can the corpse have? That is a humbling realization. You know, there's nothing wrong with thinking. It just kind of makes you alive, different to the corpse. So hanging shit on the thinking, oh yeah, I have too many thoughts, this is so debilitating. Well, again, life can facilitate it, because yes, there are situations when the racing thoughts are debilitating. And life, if you sit in the quiet, who knows, it may take you to a mindfulness training, or to a specialist who will prescribe a drug, one or the other, who knows, or get you to some other work that will break the pattern. But again, there is no doer. And if it does in one case and doesn't in another, that's up to life. Life is unlimited. So the racing thoughts, they may take you somewhere else in life, or they may not. Or they may be causing just enough of a suffering to really awaken that resonance with the idea of investigation. And that will be on life too. It's not that I am the heart and mind is an alien, there is two of us. No.
I've had racing thoughts, you know, like been in hospital with them, that kind of bad, you know, and there's just nothing more helpful than just, right, this process of elimination, you know, who's got racing thoughts? Let's take a look, okay, or who's, you know, because like part of the thoughts, but the problem with the racing thoughts is they create conclusions, okay, that are jumped to. And then there's this knowing. Yeah, I'm the reincarnation of even Mary. I just know, you know, I'm that, of course. And there's a knowing. What could also happen, I guess, is when there's an investigating, and there's a process of eliminating with this investigating. When you're saying, wait a minute, all right, what knows this? Let's take a look. It might be true. Who knows? But it's willing. I think that if truth doesn't have a problem with being looked at and investigated, right? So if there's a willingness to investigate, and you look at it, and go, well, all right, let's see. Am I this body? And then that's where it's so helpful to see a corpse, man. Like, if you ever had that chance, you know, no way. You know, definitely not. Okay. All right. A belief pattern. Am I a belief? Am I my belief system that my family... I've had one. I sometimes buy into it. I'm not that. Personality. Here's a good one. I'm a soul. That's what I am. Well, can you find? Let's see if I can find the boundaries of this soul that I think I am. And do I have a soul without a thought? Nah, I'm not a soul. Okay. An emotion. I have anxiety or depression or sadness or fear or anger or whatever. Am I that? I haven't always been that. I do like this idea of truth, being that never changes, so it can't be this emotion. I'm not an emotion, okay? I'm not a belief, thought, emotion, behavior. I used to smoke. Am I a smoker? At what point are you officially a non-smoker? Is it a second ago, or, like literally I could be holding your cigarette as long as I'm not a smoker. Okay, I'm not a smoker. And I'm not the thinker. Right? So if I'm none of these things, can I actually, when you look, can I find the one with the racing thoughts? Can I find the one with who's the reincarnation of even Mary? Can I find the one who does any of this? This is so helpful because it's like it reveals the bullshit, and then the truth takes care of itself. It reveals itself. You know what I'm saying? When you just look, you have a willingness to go, yeah, and I think you do. But it requires genuine looking, because I think Kat pointed out to me once, I used to just kind of go, right, well, can I find the one? And then it was just a mechanical question. There was no looking. You know what I mean? But if you're genuinely looking, who's got a problem with confusion? I do. No, what's that I? It's okay as it is, isn't it? What has to change?
Beautiful.
Thank you. So, just like the heartbeats and the blood flows, decision making is also spontaneous, like that. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to know. Because I think perhaps a lot of stress comes out of trying to control your decision making. Yeah. And how your life will unfold. But then it's just an illusion to think you have control over your own decision making. Okay.
Very persistent
Like
illusion.
picture it from it too, like this believing that there's a choice. That,
You need to stick.
sorry.
It's this believing that most folks have, seemingly, that there's I don't like that word choice even anymore. But if there's a belief, if I believe that I've got a choice or you have a choice, well, now as a result of believing that, you're responsible. I'm 100% responsible. That's actually the spiritual narrative in many places I've been to. You're 100%. You even chose your parents. Prove it. You know what I mean? Yeah, you chose everything. What if it's the opposite? Like zero. Like none. Okay, but I believe I'm responsible. Now, if you're responsible, that means it's your fault. You're to blame. I'm to blame. And now because I'm blaming, I'm also judging. And if I'm judging, I'll hate you. Or I'll hate myself. And when I'm not doing any of that, well, I suppose hatred and judgment can still show up and pop up their evil heads once in a while. It's just, it's less probable when it's seen through. You know what I'm saying? It falls apart. It doesn't even work anymore. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. I guess there is an interest in the logic sometimes. But it's just, you're just left a bit more with allowing what is to be as it is.
I have a couple of comments here. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that the decision making is like something I've always struggled with. Like from when I first came, it was like, well, it almost felt like it was a cop out. Like, oh, I can just use non-duality as an excuse for not doing things I think I should be doing. Because I'm like, oh, avoidance is happening, or like dishonesty is happening, and it's like, oh, off the hook. But I know, like, when I just come back on smoking, like when I quit smoking in my 20s, there's probably 3 years of wanting to quit, and in retrospect, it's like, well, exactly what you were saying, Kat. Who's the one that's wanting to, and who's the one that's doing it? And if I'm wanting to, well, then clearly I'm not, because I'm continuing to do it. And then I guess, like, because Mitra, it's all like, oh, well, when I made the choice to stop smoking, it was like a line in the sand. But really, it was just, that was the point at which, people support or like experiences or that desire to quit overwhelmed the pattern that was continuing to smoke. But it wasn't, when you look at it in retrospect, it was actually, there was no choice as such. It was just, as Kat was saying, like life continuing on, and all that wanting to quit, that like suffering of beating myself up, probably is just the way that life eventually moved to quitting. But then, Nisargadatta didn't quit smoking. He was like, sold cigarettes before enlightenment,
And after.
continued to sell them and smoke them after enlightenment. And that was like, when I first read about him, that was the thing, 'cause I was all just full of judgments. I was like, well, this guy can't be legit because he kept smoking. Who would possibly smoke after awakening? But that's just the way that life, is expressing. But yeah, the choice, even now, I still like think that like, oh, I should be changing things about my life. I should be doing things. And yet life continues to go on in the direction it goes on. And the more that I'm not attempting to change it or attempting to... I'm not sure. Yeah, the more that there's not this like, I thought of I should be doing something different, the less suffering there is. And I think that the idea that we aren't responsible for our decisions or any of this stuff is all predisposed on an I. So it's like the fundamental illusion that I am separate and I am making decisions. That's the fundamental kind of illusion, and then that just flows into all these other kind of bits of suffering of I should have done that, I should have done this. And it's when you bring it back to the very root, it disappears, and then you just see that there's happening, or there's acting, or there's decisions happening, or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. Beautiful. And you can.
There's no one that just did that.
I have a couple of online comments from people who are with us. Amarnath says, death is also part of life. Similarly, life is in death. Imagined self, body, mind is the corpse only. What we think, conditioning is also spontaneous. Expression in thought and word doesn't pollute the self. It's pure as it is. We have infinite choices, though it is choiceless awareness. Changeless wants to change. So you can also, if you look at the decisions and the whole process of decision making or choices making, again, one of my favorite pointers that Bob uses, natural state is as in nature. How does the eagle make a choice what to hunt? It depends on what's available, isn't it? It depends whether there is day or night, so it depends on the position of the planet relative to the sun. It also depends on how hungry it is. If it just hunted 5 minutes ago, that's not going to happen. So every decision is response to the environment in which the environment is 100% participating. So we call it spontaneous because it has infinite amount of causes. And now on the rise of artificial intelligence, we will be able to maybe approximate it a little better. But I have that choice from that example from my work. I used to work at sea as ship's officer, and I used to study for it for 5 years before. And we would learn about the mechanics of the waves formulating on the ocean. What the decision, or who makes the decision, or what is responsible for that particular wave, that height, that speed, that swell. Well, it's the 10,000 things. But we would learn the equation in which you would at least need those 5 or 6 factors. Like, how open the area is, or how deep the water is, how strong the wind is, which is the wind direction in relative to the closeness of a shore. and what is the salinity of the water, because that's the density of it. So even for that basic thing, you needed a lot of factors, and that would give you a probability or predictability of the wave. And again, every wave is different. So 25% of the wave would have certain name, another amount of the waves. That is how the whole universe function. You have the multitude of things affecting. Why would I even choose to be ship's officer? I had no ship's officers in the family. I had no idea what sort of life it was. I wasn't even growing up by the sea. The decision has shown up. And am I responsible? And you're right, you know, that having been responsible for the decision, and it was a risky decision, I could have wasted my life and shoot myself, jump off the building. You know, having a big life-altering decisions, to have it on your back, oh my God, I'm going to waste my potential. Or I can only choose one thing, and I have 2 other talents that I would love to follow. Well, what a madness, what a suffering. The truth is, whatever the options arise, they arise already pre-charged, and environment keep modifying them moment to moment. You may have 2 options, and then tomorrow somebody says something that will resonate somewhere, and life will actually take different course. And how wonderful it is that it's not that you have zero responsibility. You can imagine that you have a part of responsibility, but it's one of the infinite. But that you would be the body, or the mind, or the thought. All of it is involved, because obviously, you know, like if you were 6 foot tall, you probably wouldn't be choosing to go on the submarine, or maybe, or other things are involved, and the body is involved, and the mechanics of conditioning are involved. Everything is nothing excluded, because it's all one. That takes such a heavy weight of suffering off your shoulder when you realize that you can't make the decision because the 10,000 things makes it, but also your oppressors, they couldn't make a decision. Mm-hmm. They didn't choose to be narcissists, psychopaths, and abusers. That is also environment that contributed to their behavior. And then you can't blame them either. And the whole dynamic of creating a story of victim, that will be a beautiful story still, but it loses its base.
No responsibility, and yet there's still an ability to respond.
Yeah, inevitable, yeah. And love to everyone from Gilbert. And thank you everyone for hanging out with us.
Thanks everyone.
And
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you very
my
much,
darling.
Kat.